Okay, I believe we are live on Facebook. Good morning. My name is Karen Caig, and I am an LRMT, which means Licensed Reiki Master Teacher with the International Center for Reiki Training. And this is the LRMT Spotlight, where we feature another LRMT because the purpose of the International Center for Reiki Training is to support Reiki practitioners and Reiki master teachers in what they're doing. And so since the LRMTs have extra training and a lot of experience, we like to tap into like, what are you doing? Do you have some tips for us? And this morning we're here early in the morning because he is in Sedona, Arizona. We have Arthur Baird. Arthur, thank you so much for joining us so early.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me. Unfortunately, even though I'm not a morning person, this guy and his little brother don't let me sleep in.
Yeah, I said maybe we should give tips about like Reiki and family life. When we settled in, we said, like, oh, look, you've got Olaf in the background. This is great. But and that really would be a great, I think, another episode to do later, Arthur. So maybe we will do that. Yeah. But today, Arthur agreed to talk with us about incorporating sound into your Reiki practice. So, Arthur, what can you share with our listeners?
Well, so there's two things I always like to share. So there's the standpoint of, as a Reiki practitioner, what's the benefit of incorporating sound? And then the opposite, as a sound healer, what's the benefit of incorporating Reiki? A lot of the benefits that I can think of, we'll say at least, as a sound or as a Reiki practitioner in adding in sound is from the standpoint of the practitioner. There's a lot of benefits the practitioner gets from incorporating sound into their practice. A big thing is, particularly for like a new Reiki practitioner who's just starting out, is the more you work with the visceral vibration that is the sound vibration, the more aware your conscious mind becomes of the subtle vibration. I'm a big proponent, I always say in my classes, it's not that your sensitivity is changing. We're all sensitive to energy. We're all intuitive. What's changing is our awareness of that intuition and sensitivity. They still do call it a woman's intuition. No, it's human intuition. It's just, as men, we're taught more so to shut it down. Same thing with our sensitivity to the energy. We're all sensitive to the energy, but life causes us to shut down that awareness. So the working with that visceral vibration that is sound, particularly like from my big favorite one is drumming specifically. It's a nice, powerful, you feel it in your gut kind of vibration.
In your bones.
Excuse me, sorry. Yeah. Primal, that's the word I've been looking for. The primal vibration with the drum, especially, you can really feel it. And even though it's not a subtle vibration, but having that experience with that visceral vibration, your conscious mind goes, oh, that's what we mean by vibration. And so it's better able to pay attention to the subtle vibrations. Like another example of that is one of my favorite things to do is Biosin scanning with the drum. Because partly that there's two things going on. One, there's sorry about that. Enough. With Biosin scanning with the drum, one, it's kind of incorporating it, but if you think about it, what is a drum? Or at least if you're using a frame drum, I should say. So for frame drum, think the stereotype of the Native American shaman drum, or Native American drum, excuse me. That shape is basically a parabolic dish. What do parabolic dishes do? They collect and amplify the energy they're collecting on a single point. Basically, think your satellite dish. It's collecting that beam and then amplifying it onto the sensor. So by doing the Biosin scanning with the drum in your hand, for some people to actually feel it stronger on their hand and feel the subtleties of the field stronger on their hand.
So you just hold so you just hold the drum and just move it over the body or do you drum, or you just hold it?
You could drum. My suggestion though is don't just hold the drum. Because then the vibration might, confuse your brain a little too much.
I'm sorry, that was a tough question.
No, you're good. No, I get that.
Seriously, you just hold the drum and just move it over the body?
Yeah. I mean, literally think of it at that instance, you aren't thinking of it as an instrument, you're thinking of it as a dish, parabolic dish.
Okay.
So satellite dish. But a lot of it, like I said, for the practitioner, a lot of it focuses around that. The more you're working with that visceral vibration and just being with that vibration that is the sound, your conscious mind going, oh, that's vibration. That's that tingling, for lack of a better word, is what I'm supposed to be paying attention to. And so you become more aware, your conscious mind becomes more aware of those subtle vibrations. The other thing that's kind of good, kind of bad for the practitioner standpoint is sound helps us to go into those deep, relaxed states even more so. So the reason I say that's kind of good, kind of bad is sometimes incorporating the sound as a practitioner, it's that much harder to stay fully present in the session and not zen out with your client. Not that that's a bad thing, but most of us, a lot of us choose to be that loving witness. And so there's that adjustment of, okay, even with this sound, and much as, like when I do my own work, I'm using this sound to completely zen out. In this session, I got to ignore that and stay present.
Yeah.
But, it really does help to take it even deeper. And that's actually where you get into the benefit of the client by incorporating the sound, is by incorporating that visceral vibration, their mind becomes more conscious of the process of the session. And so their conscious mind, like, oh, something is actually happening. And so it's easier for them to, I guess, grasp, for lack of a better word.
Kind of bring it to the
what's going on
level.
It gets into that conscious level. Exactly. But also, not only is their conscious mind more aware, more conscious of the healing process, it actually, the vibration helps to carry that that subtle vibration of the Reiki even deeper into the body and actually kind of penetrate deeper into the body. And then also, of course, the more relaxed we are during a healing session, the deeper and deeper levels that the energy can work on. And that's kind of also then on the flip side, the benefit for a sound healer in incorporating Reiki is the Reiki actually helps to amplify the sound and carry the sound even deeper into the body. And they actually amplify each other. The old cliche term, the total is greater than the sum of the parts. They're working on deeper and deeper and deeper levels. The other benefit on the Reiki practitioner incorporating sound, kind of more so aspect, is sound tends to have a very cleansing effect on the body. The vibration going through the body is a lot more cleansing, sometimes purging, one end or the other, but it definitely has more of a cleansing effect. And so that's, with the Reiki, it's mostly helping us with that aha moment. Okay, that's what I'm exposing myself to that's causing this illness. That's what's in my life that's leading to this illness. And the better we can identify that toxin that's making us sick, the easier it is for us to remove from our lives. And, the more relaxed we are, the more our body can tap into its own healing potential and cleanse things from it. But, sometimes part of the reason we're getting sick from those toxins is our body can't release the stuff. And so the sound actually helps to then not only, take us into that relaxed state where our body heals itself, it's also helping to directly purge the toxin from our body. And then on going back to the flip side of a sound healer incorporating Reiki is when we're trying to heal, when we're doing a healing session, energy follows our focus. No matter what, energy goes towards our focus.
Energy follows.
So
I love that. Yeah.
Right. And so if we're not consciously channeling something like source energy, like we would in Reiki, then the energy that's going to be used is our own personal life force, our own personal chi, meaning we get sick. We get sick because one, we're depleting ourselves, but also two, as we deplete ourselves, we create an energetic void. That void is going to be filled with the energy nearby, aka the stuff we just cleared from our client.
Yeah.
So we're going to pull that stuff right into our field to fill that void. So we get sick. But if we're channeling that source energy, that inexhaustible energy through us, then we never deplete ourselves. We constantly, as a practitioner, we constantly stay charged and fully energized as the energy is beaming out from us. And so everyone's getting the full effect of that healing energy without any depletion. All voids are filled with positive energy instead of negative energy.
Right, that makes sense.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just glancing down for questions. Keep going.
Yeah, so a lot of that, benefits kind of more on the practitioner side, but the recipient's getting benefit from that too. They're getting more of that positive energy filling them back up as the sound is clearing out. As the sound purges the stuff from their body, the blockages and stuff, that source energy is coming in and filling the void created by the purge, or that space created by the purge, or maybe a slightly better way of saying it, with pure divine love and light. That's then even doing even more healing work on it. So, from the recipient, the client standpoint, by incorporating that source energy, it's helping to take that session that much further, that much deeper. The story I actually use in our Reiki drumming class, it's basically kind of the reason for the origin for the system that my dad and I created, or that Michael created, and then I furthered. Reiki drumming was because it was actually from a specific experience, actually at one of the Labor Day International Reiki retreats, back in the day when they were still in Michigan, actually, going way back.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Right. They actually they invited some drum sound healers to come. And these drum sound healers were very adamant. They did drum healing, not Reiki. They honored those who did Reiki, but it's like not what we do. We do sounds, period. Yeah. Well, there's three of them, and one of them ended up not being able to make the retreat. And they'd heard that Michael knew some drumming. And they're just like, hey, we know you know some drumming. Would you mind filling in and being our third man? And he's like, sure, sounds good. I'm not as familiar with djembe. He's more, was more familiar with doumbek at the time, which is the Middle Eastern. He's like, show me a few tips and we can make it work. So that first night he was doing the sound healing sessions with them, he actually decided to follow their lead and not do Reiki. Like, we're doing just sound. Well, by the end, after he finished all the sessions, I think it was about an hour that they worked, doing probably 10 minutes a piece, a person, something like that. He actually felt so sick. He literally crawled off in the woods looking to, crawl off and die by himself kind of thing. He was so ill afterwards. And eventually someone from the retreat found him, Laurel, and dragged him back to the Reiki retreat so he could get Reiki to help him with his, illness response, and, dragged him into the Reiki share room. And he thought he maybe had, 3 or 4 people working on him for 15 minutes. No, he basically had the entire retreat, like 100+ people working on him for over an hour.
Wow.
They basically formed concentric circles around him so they could all Reiki him. But when he woke up from his 15 minutes, he felt way better. He was actually felt human again, basically, as they say. And in talking with Laurel, trying to figure out, I was like, okay, why did I get so sick? Was it because it kind of felt like he has a lot of food allergies, and the symptoms were kind of similar to his food allergies. So it was like, okay, what did I eat that I would have reacted to? And nothing was making sense, especially because the retreat center where they were was very conscientious about food allergies and cross-contamination. And eventually Laurel's like, well, what were you doing directly before when you got sick? He's like, I was doing those sound healing sessions. And of course, Laurel was, and you called in the Reiki energy, right? He's like, no. Oh. So Laurel, knowing my dad and I, is like, let's do an experiment. Let's try Reiki this time and see how you feel. And so the next night when he did it, this time he strengthened his light, called in the Reiki energy as he was drumming, and kept that energy flowing as he was drumming. And this time he actually was able to go longer and did about more like an hour and a half. And actually his line, interestingly enough, the second night was the longest of the 3 healers. The first night, his was the shortest. But after, when he finished, he felt so much better than he did the first night. He actually did not feel ill at all. Excuse me, sorry about that. Not only did he not feel ill, he actually felt energized, kind of like that runner's high kind of energized. So it's like, yeah, he was just drumming for an hour and a half. He felt that, but he felt jazzed about it. And because he felt so good, he was able to take inventory of the two other drummers. And one drummer, interestingly enough, well, the one drummer, actually, before I say that, I said the one drummer was off by himself, sitting down. It actually almost looked like he might be having a heart attack or something, sweating profusely, extremely flushed. I mean, just did not look well. But interesting, the other drummer, even though he did not do Reiki, his partner did Reiki. And so he was getting Reiki from his partner and his partner's friends. And he looked better. He didn't look as sick as the other guy.
Well, somebody has asked a question here kind of about that. Let's see, this Nicolette, she says, how do we make sure we're not using our own energy? Nicolette, I'm assuming that you are a Reiki practitioner. I'm going to go with that. She said, last session, I had a headache and sick stomach for 2 days. Said her client had been sick. Just what would you say to that? I'm not sure if she was drumming and doing Reiki or sound healing and doing Reiki. Nicolette, maybe you can jump in and reply to that just to clarify.
Sure. Well, the part of even just as a Reiki practitioner, it's still possible for us to not be clear enough, I guess, with our intention of what energy we're channeling. In my class, I know sometimes in Reiki circles, they talk about the protective bubble, bearer of mirrors, shield idea, basically, as a way to protect yourself when doing the work. I take a different approach for a couple different reasons. And my different approach is, instead of separating myself from the environment, I choose to be fully present in my environment, but do it as that transformative presence of pure divine love and light. So we've termed that, the term we use in my family is strengthening your light. So with strengthening your light, you're taking a conscious moment before you begin the session. And my suggestion actually is to do it before when you start your day, kind of thing, like always do it, but definitely before the session. Before you start the session, take that conscious moment to not only just call in that divine love and light so it's flowing, but to consciously become one with that divine love and light. And as you become one with that divine love and light, then your intention is you become one with it, and then it's constantly radiating out from you, filling you up and overflowing from you. So the more conscious you are in that, I am channeling this divine love and light, and only this divine love and light, the less that kind of stuff happens. But eventually that conscious choice does kind of become second nature, but there is that conscious decision to do it. Source energy always respects free will. We have to invite it in and invite it to do the work on our behalf.
And be careful, just to take yourself. Sometimes I have to just like mentally go like out of the way, like move myself and my energy to the side and just be a strong, just like I love calling it strengthening your light. Yeah. And like letting it fill you, and then just as it overflows, that's what you're giving, and you're not giving any of your personal energy. So yeah, Nick, that's what I would suggest as well. Let's see. Yeah, Rebecca says, as a Reiki master and teacher, I clearly state or set the intention. Yeah, that's right. Great. Implemented all modalities, thought I had protected myself, but ended up sick. Okay. Maybe
it is,
with the session, maybe you just got sick. I mean that, I guess that
there is that too. Yeah, life does happen.
Yeah.
But it's as a practitioner in the moment, it's easy to get caught up in the moment and not always do those conscious, clear decisions. Okay, I'm channeling source energy, not my energy. I'm being that presence of divine love and light, so forth. There's a. Go ahead. Say it one more time.
I said, do you think that may be harder if you're doing drumming as well, or sound bowls or something that you forget?
At first, maybe. But that's why I always say with the sound healing, it's important to just do practice, basically working with yourself. Because the more you practice, the more it becomes muscle memory, becomes second nature. And then for me, because I have ADHD mind, squirrel,
Me
the,
too. I don't know how we did
the,
this interview.
the sound actually helps me to stay more focused. But that's because I've practiced and it has become second nature to produce that sound, that I don't have to think about the sound production. And so the getting lost, it's like the, squeezing the stress ball kind of thing. In the motion of creating the sound that is now second nature, it actually helps me to stay more focused. But that does take practice.
Okay, that's good. So the takeaway from this is practice, and I love the idea of Biosen scanning with the drum. That's amazing, because a lot of people, when they're learning, especially new practitioners, they'll maybe use a pendulum, or something. But I really like the idea of the drum being like a magnifier, like a bowl. And that's a great takeaway. And yeah, I definitely want to do another one where you talk about incorporating Reiki into your family. Yeah.
Speaking of practice of the work.
Exactly. Arthur, thank you so much for joining us today. And if you have any questions, if you're catching this on the replay, please type your questions into the comments, and Arthur and I will check those periodically throughout the day. And Arthur's like, in my spare time. Yeah. No, seriously, we will get back to you and answer your questions.
Absolutely.
We really appreciate you, Arthur. Thank you for sharing your expertise.
And I will say a good way to reach out to me, since this is also being on Facebook Live, Facebook Messenger. I am not the only Arthur Baird, but I am the only Arthur Maxwell Baird on Facebook. So if you just search on Facebook Messenger of Arthur Maxwell Baird, drop me a message. I'm pretty good about getting back to those.
Mm-hmm. Great. All right. Thank you, Arthur.
Yeah, thank you. All right, bye.